I welcome you very much to the executive track. We have 5 very interesting but diverse talks. Our first speaker is Golliez. He is managing partner of the IT consulting firm Utopia AG. He studied computer science at ETH in the early 80s and subsequently worked as an IT manager in the engineering industry and in the financial sector. In 1999, he founded, together with partners, the company Utopia AG, specializing in the strategic IT consulting for public administrations. From 2004 to 2009, Golliez was president of the Swiss Informatics Society. And now the interesting part, I guess, is also what this talk is about. In 2010, he and some friends of him started the Open Data Initiative Switzerland. And the data, my data, the question is now COOP, citizen-controlled reuse of personal data. That is, I guess, his very much now his child who wanted to force it. It's your stage.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. It's a great pleasure to have the possibility here to talk about my data. And as all has been said, for the last 5 years, open data was my passion, and it still is. It still is. And, but today, that's really a premiere for me to talk about my data, because the last 5 years I talked about open data, and this is really a new opportunity. A few months ago, I started with some colleagues of mine, the My Data initiative. We founded this cooperative, mydata.coop, and I have to say we are about 15 or 20 of us. It's a small bunch, and I hope this movement for My Data will develop as positive as the open data movement in Switzerland. But one remark to the open data movement, of course, because they don't want to talk about open data as they usually do. I think in the last 5 years we reached a lot of goals, and I'm quite proud about this movement. But on an international level, I have to say, there is nothing really to write home about. In a global open data census, Switzerland is on place 23. You find that in the open data census of the Open Knowledge Foundation. So that means there's still a lot to do for open data. And all of you invited to participate, of course, at the open data movement. We have July 1st our conference, our annual conference at the University of Bern, and there's a lot of people to join the open data movement. So that's the very public relations slogan for open data. And now I want to go into the subject of mydata.com. I want to show you that this is very related, of course, to the open data movement too. The shared vision of both movements who are connected also in other countries very tight, like in the US or in the UK, is something we called citizen empowerment, or something you can name also data democracy. And obviously everything is about data. And the question is, who owns the data? And now maybe there are some lawyers here, they will explain to you that there is no such thing as data ownership. And I'm not a lawyer, I don't go into this discussion. But what is very obvious is that there are huge amounts of data, every minute, every second, every hour, more data. And fundamentally, this data is generated by all of us, as consumers, as patients, as citizens. We generate the most part of this data. But the most part of this data, about 85%, is touched by enterprises and large organizations. They are under control of large organizations and not of the citizens. This is the starting point of my thoughts and of the concepts of my data. We want to change exactly that. One speaks about from data about the oil of the 21st century. And if the data metaphor of the oil is a bit stupid metaphor, because data is not oil. If you use data, it doesn't decrease as oil, but it increases, you know, every time you use this data. It gets doubled, it gets copied, etc. It's a really sustainable resource, what oil is not. But the metaphor holds also a bit because it is a resource. You can gain out of it a lot of value for all of us, especially for certain enterprises, and that's what's going on. We have data collectors and data riggers who make really big business, you know, these companies very well. I differentiate here two spheres, the data production sphere and the sphere of data collection and reuse, sorry. And that's very important for our purpose. I'm quite familiar with this area here. For about 35 years or more, I'm in the data business, data production business, data processing business. And what we see in the last few years is the upcoming of using data as a resource by collecting, by analyzing it, by visualizing it, by using it for a lot of purposes. And what's a bit scaring and what we have a lot of discussion about is what do they with our data? It's our data, it's data generated by all of us. What are they doing with that? And we come on to this question later on. Now, the vision is, as I said before, that we all participate in that data collection and reuse movement, and are participating in the value of that oil of the 21st century. So that's the vision of the data democracy, data for all of us. And what is an important precondition to realize this vision is that the data is available. And of course, this is the open data part, not personal, non-personal data, and we have the personal data or my data part. And today, I talk about my data. The idea is to make available and accessible personal data to the individual who is related to the data, who is producing the data by everything we're doing on the web, online, by talking, using our mobile phones, etc., etc., and to give them access and the possibility also to share it. And that's where my data and open data are connected. I have always to explain when I talk about open data, it's not personal data. If we ask public administrations, give us our data, we have paid for it as taxpayers, then we don't talk about personal data. That's very important. But if it comes to personal data, it's a bit different. We say, give to every of us our personal data, at least that we can co-reuse it, co-use it, and then it's our decision if we want to share it with other people or make it public at all. A very famous example for that is OpenSNP, a website in Germany, maybe you have read about it, where now it's about 2,000 people, they publish their genome data. Okay. They give it outside for research, they make it for free. That's their decision, and by your genome you're really, there's no privacy, you're really identified and definable at all. So that's the idea, the basic ideas of my data. Personal data is a new asset class. You may know this report from the World Economic Forum 2011, personal data is a new asset class. There's a big run about personal data, you know it. It's really a large economic value. Boston Consulting Group talked about €1 trillion market, or even more. I think McKinsey topped also this analysis. We have different spheres where personal data is generated. the most interesting one is, of course, health data. I have to say I'm not of the e-health business or the health area. This is where my colleagues in the MyData are in. But we know all these facts. We have a huge amount of mobile health applications. The cost to genome sequencing is decreasing very fast. We are now at 1,000 francs, but we can have also a part of a genome sequenced by 23andMe for, I think, $99. But then you give your rights to use this data to 23andMe, what we don't want, and etc., etc. But this data is closed in silos, and they're not integrated with each other. So let's, the question in the center, is personal data really my data? And the fact is that normally we don't know what data we collect about me. We don't know what they, organizations, enterprise, etc., are doing with the data. What do they analyze? What are the consequences? If you go and ask for a credit, maybe the credit is denied, and you don't know what algorithms and what data is used to come to this consequence. And the third question is, how can I access my data and use it? And that's the central question for MyData.com. The vision is quite simple. Maybe too simple, I have to realize. It's a technical diagram. The idea is to get access to all data you relate with, to have possibility to manage and store your personal data somewhere, come to that later on, and to participate at the reuse of your data under your control. And this leads to at least three very important challenges or problems, and I don't have the answer to these problems or these challenges. First one, how can I access and download my personal data? Also, if you're allowed to do that, try it. And you go to your bank and say, don't give me only your e-banking interface. Give me my data, my track record of the last 6 or 12 months. You will be surprised by the answer. Then, second challenge, how to store and manage my personal data. We don't have experience in that. Of course, we have all our devices and this data on, but we're not data managers of ourselves. And that's also a central question in the data society. If we talk about they, then we mean organizations and enterprises who are used to manage data. We, as citizens, we are not really used to manage our data. That's a fundamental problem, and I don't know, there's not only one answer, of course, to this question. And the last question, maybe most important, how to reuse this data and get value of my data, how to affect it. So these three challenges, and there are first answers to that. First answer. We are in a very early stage of this movement. I mention only the Smart Disclosure Initiative of the US government and the MyData initiative of UK. Both countries are ahead in open data, and it's no wonder they're also ahead of other countries in the MyData movement. So what is Smart Disclosure? This is an example, the blue button. The blue button is an initiative of the government, US government, the president, to make available health data to patients in US. And every health state service provider who participate in this initiative, and I think there are several hundreds now, that put this blue button on their website, and you have the possibility to access your personal health data record from this agency. What is this? What are the benefits? It's very obvious. You can check your data, you can keep track of the data, and you have also the possibility to control what happens with it. There are only a few aspects that you can benefit from your own personal health data. Second showcase is green button. It's the same thing as blue button, but in energy, your energy use. About 50 to 60 million households in the US are using the green button. The green button gives you the possibility to access your personal energy consumption data from your energy provider. And there's a lot of use of this green button data already in the US. Of course, commercial energy users, they're a bit better stuff than private energy users because they have smart meters everywhere and technical infrastructure to gain data. And then, of course, also residential consumers and the utilities and the energy service providers themselves. They use this data to improve customer engagement and service analytics. So that's the green button movement, and list the My Data standard in UK. The government in 2011 defined a data standard for providing personal data to consumers by these companies, these corporates in UK participate in this initiative. And I think for Switzerland quite an interesting news is that what happened in last March. Then 12 banks joined the My Data initiative, and they began to release personal data in the My Data standard to their bank customers, about their accounts and transactions. And then that was the moment where the Comparis of UK, GoCompare.com, went in and provided a service to compare different bank services based on your personal bank data track. And they have now a really interesting movement where people begin to change their banks, what didn't happen so often before. So I told my friends in the Swiss finance industry that they should have an eye on this development in UK, because you don't need to be a prophet, that we will have it someday also in Switzerland. Perhaps not tomorrow, but in one of the next years. For me. So last piece in this talk, the Swiss way to My Data, and that's what I told. We founded a cooperative to manage and to reuse our data, and that's mydata.com. There are a lot of reasons to do this in form of a cooperative. I think the most important point is that we think that such an organization should be a non-profit organization. And why is it the Swiss way? Because Switzerland has a large tradition in cooperatives. That's our point, and I don't see this in other countries already. We built a prototype platform. Maybe can show you for 1 minute that it exists. It's focused on health data, and we use it, and I'll explain, of course, this chart. We use it to share personal data with medical research, because there is a lot of interest to get access to personal data, and there we find it's very important that the patients are in control what happens to the data if they're willing to give the data to medical research. There are a lot of, there's some functionalities. We have patient information we share with health professionals. We have the functionality that the data export, providing, of course, anonymization, is affected to the research institution we collaborate with. Then we have social communication in it. It's a bit like Google Plus like with circles, and we have, of course, also integrated access to information, open data about medical facts. It's organized with dashboards, and if you give me this minute, then I switch to the demo, and here we are online. I hope yes, I have connection, and I can show here you have different dashboards. It's very alpha. It's not even beta. stage. But we collect health data from test persons, and you can visualize it, you know, then from health applications, and then you can share it within your cycles, and you can give it to research. That's what I want to show you. The idea is that we are connected with researchers. They propose studies. They're posted to your personal dashboard, and then you can check what is this study about and what is requested, what kind of data, and in the end you can participate in this study or refuse it. It's up to you as MyData.com member. So I think this should be enough for the moment. I make a trailer for the Open Data Conference at the 1st of July at the University of Bern. There we will have the developers. I'm not in the development team of MyData platform. You can meet them and you can hands-on try this prototype platform for MyData. So I close here with some last, I switch this, some last remarks summing up. We are in a very early stage of MyData, not only in Switzerland. I think UK and US are 1 or 2 years ahead of us. Not Open Data, I would say it's 3 or 4 years ahead of us. There are some basic conditions. I think we need the right to get a copy of our data. I see that in the Constitution as it's a fundamental aspect. Then we need data cooperatives. I don't say MyData.com is the only one. Found your own data cooperatives, and I think it's a good way to organize as individuals, as citizens, to manage our own personal data. Then we need standardized formats and interfaces, APIs, etc. to get our data from our banks, insurance, health providers, from public administration, etc. And last but not least, we need personal data management platforms to get value out of that data. And this is, of course, there are further points, but a lot to do in the next few years. And I invite you to join the MyData movement, Freedom for Our Data. Thank you very much.